Simranjit Singh Mann wants to say something. Please sit down. He's been waiting from the beginning.
Madam Chairperson, thank you for giving me the time. I think it is the happiest day in the life of the minorities in a secular country like India that the government, NDA government, has brought forth this bill which meets the long pending demands of the Muslim minority, which is the largest minority in India. It brings out clearly the secular credentials of the NDA government. But my lament is, Madam Chairperson, that the minorities are not understood well enough in this House and in the Indian state. Nor, for instance, this is just one of the demands that the Sikhs have made, that they should have a All India Gurdwara Act. This struggle led to Operation Blue Star, led to the assassination of Mrs. Indira Gandhi, all of which was very unfortunate. If we are misunderstood and not heeded, I think the minorities will not get justice in the state. For instance, I want to tell you that at the very outset of independence in 1947, the then Indian government put the Sikhs in the Criminal Act. We were called criminals. Then, since the inception of the Indian Constitution in 1950, we, as per Article 25 of it, we the Sikhs were clubbed with the Hindus. This is something that we have struggled against, and I was very skeptical about the Constitutional Review Commission. But fortunately, my skepticism has been put to rest, and the Commission has decided that the Sikhs hereafter will be called a separate identity and a separate religion. Madam Chairperson, this is a very good thing, and I think the NDA government should swiftly bring in a constitutional reform bill and amend Article 25 of the Constitution, which is obnoxious to our Sikhs. Then,
you must now speak on the bill, Mr. Mann.
Madam Chairperson, this is an opportunity for the minorities that we must also voice our concerns. As I've told you, that Operation Blue Star would never have occurred had we been understood by the majority. Now, in the first decade of the 20th century, a Sikh Marriage Act was enacted by the British government, but still we are governed by the Hindu Marriage Act, and similarly we are governed by the Hindu Code Bill. We demand that a separate bill for all this should be brought before Parliament. Like the Hajj pilgrims who go to Mecca for an annual pilgrimage, the Sikhs also go to Pakistan to visit their holy shrines. As per the Liaquat-Nehru Pact, it was decreed that the Sikhs would visit Pakistan 4 times. But this year, on the day of the Baisakhi, Madam Chairperson, none of us were allowed to visit our holy shrines in Pakistan on the pretext that there was tension between India and Pakistan. But Madam Chairperson, the pilgrimage to Amarnath continues without any let or hindrance, and a lot of pilgrims are murdered by the militants the security forces are also shot dead by the militants. And the Hajj pilgrim carries on even if Iran does not get on well with Saudi Arabia. So a similar device, the next pilgrimage to Pakistan will begin in the second week of June this year, and I hope the Honourable Deputy Foreign Minister who is steering this bill will keep our jathas in mind for June. Madam Chairperson, we the minorities have very little say in the enactment of India's foreign, defence and home policy. To drive the lesson home, I'll just give you one example, that there was a great deal of trouble and persecution of the Hindus in Bangladesh. The Indian government sent specially its National Security Advisor, Mr. Brajesh Mishra, to Dhaka, and he resolved the issue, though I am still not satisfied with the policies of the Bangladesh government vis-à-vis their treatment of their Hindu citizens. But nevertheless, there was a gesture. A similar thing happened to the Sikhs in the USA after the 11th September bombings last year. We were mistaken as Arabs, Afghans, and whatnot, and Sikhs were massacred in a spate of hate crime by the Americans. 2 minutes more. And Madam Chairperson, the Prime Minister went to the States, the Home Minister went to the States, the Foreign Minister went to the States, but none of them, my complaint is, took up the persecution of the Sikhs in America with the State Department or with President Bush. This is a very discriminatory thing, and I think the Indian government at that time should have inserted advertisements in the American papers saying that the Sikhs are not Iranians, Iraqis, or Afghanis. Therefore, yesterday, Madam, I tried to explain the issue of Operation Blue Star, but unfortunately, there was a great schmozzle in this House. It was not my purpose to set the cat amongst the pigeons, but I don't know how the two estranged parties got at each other's necks. The question raised by one party, and your party acceded to my request that an apology to the Sikh people should be given, whereas the Treasury benches opposed it and said that it was the work of the Congress. Now, Madam Chairperson, if national apologies are to be given by the party which does the act, I don't think the Korean people could have ever got an apology from the Japanese. The successor government to the war cabinet of Japan could have said that this was the work of Prime Minister Tojo and Hirohito the Emperor, and the same thing could have been attributed by the Germans, 1 second more, to the Nazis, and they would have never apologized to their Jews. And similarly, the Americans would have never apologized to their Japanese citizens had they taken this plea and said that President Roosevelt imprisoned his own Japanese citizens. So, Madam Chairperson, I will be very grateful if the minorities are also given some time to tell their woes, to tell their troubles, and I'm very grateful, and I support this very great bill, which is a landmark in India's secular history.